Good morning. I got the opportunity to tell a little bit about our success story, like Breda call it. We have done a change, and instead of calling implementation of a new system and so on, we decided to call it Kaizen, who is kind of continuous improvement. So this is a little bit. So the thing I would short go through introduction, me, company, then say some words about the challenge. What was really the challenge we had? And then our focus dilemma, what have we done, good and bad experience, and a little bit about the cost and the benefit that we have had in this. Shortly, just about me. I'm an engineer. I worked together with Breda at HighStage many years ago, but done a lot of other things also. So I worked 10 years for Hewlett Packard with high availability systems, mission critical support, and I've also implemented an ERP system in a couple of companies before Develop. Right now, I am a procurement manager at Develop. That's not anything I have a clue about, but I still do it. I like technology. I like to take some risk, but for this kind of project, we try to limit the risk. So that has been a challenge as well. Develop, it is a 27 years old company now. We started as JMC. It's Jens Myklebust Consulting. It was a guy who started engineering for the oil industry. And it was acquired by Odin some years later because they needed the engineering capacity, mechanical engineering. And after some years, Rolls-Royce came. Due to that, Odin has made some subsea equipment and so on. They would like to have that. And Rolls-Royce didn't know that they had an office in Stavanger. That was us. So actually it took a year and a half before they discovered they had a company or an office in Stavanger. And they decided that it was not core business to deliver equipment to the oil industry. So then there was a management buyout in 2014. So we bought a company.
One question.
Yeah.
That figure, how tall is it?
This one is about, I think it's 22 meters, approximately. Yeah. So I will show some of the products here later. So what the company started on, or what was the idea here, was from the left some of the products. It was coil tubing, tension frame, and so on. And then it went over to more kind of solution-oriented. So the client had maybe like the first tower there, skidding system to have access to the well, and it need to be fit to the platform and so on. So and then in the middle, the largest one was the first rig solution we made for Yme. And Yme was not a big success story, but the rig was. So it's used today as in a test facility. And then we have some of the newer systems. So the four areas that we actually work on and we need to look into when we try to implement this kind of system, we have products that is more kind of standardized, even they are not standardized, but we have the products. We have the rig solution, who's always a kind of a one-off project. And we have engineering, and we also have service and some assistance offshore. This is just a picture of some of the main products we have. It's from the left, it's a power stand. It's for coil. There's 4 or 5 kilometers of coil on this. heavy, 90 ton typically when you lift them. Then you have tension frames, and there is also heave compensated tension frame. And we have towers that they can be elevated. So we have a kind of a mechanical synchronization system that is patented and so on. Then we have more the newer, larger project we go for, and that is cantilevers. It's standing on a jack-up or a lift boat. Then you skid it out, and you get access to the wells. And it's for well intervention. It's could also do the P&A, also plug and abandon or workover or this type of operation. So that from left is a small solution. The middle one is with a jacking tower, and then it's a full-blown solution with a driller cabin where you're sitting and controlling everything from the chair. We also have the engineering. We are running SolidWorks, SAP 2000, and some other software solutions. Then we go to the challenge. The challenge was, well, it has been for companies, some different histories, things put different places and so on. We have the ERP system, the Navision first, then to Accepta, ending up with 104,000 different parts, some of them the same, much outdated information. So it was a really, really mess. We also struggled with the project. The project was, or it is actually our the working process. We do everything through project. Even small deliveries of parts and so on is a project. So the project manager having focus on economy, but also having control was important. And from some of the history, people came in from larger organization. VBS, work breakdown structures, they grow. They was huge. So as an example, we had one of the last project we sold. There was a proposal for more than 500 subtopics in the VBS structure, and we were able to reduce it to 32. So a lot of things here that we looked into, that was a challenge. And also some of the requisition for parts and so on was a challenge. And then our Accepta version was ending support this year. We had to do something. And the list was much longer. So some of our dilemma for the choice was actually, would we go in for and buy a large ERP system? Would we go for a kind of a cloud solution? We had to reduce cost to be more competitive. And how could we actually ensure that we became more competitive? Information was not easy accessible the way we had it. How could it be easier, both for searching, but also drilling down? When you look into economy, you need to do drill downs very easily, get the figures behind everything. And the thing we saw was also we had copies of, or we didn't have one original data base where we had information. So we could have multiple around and no source of it. So different errors occurred due to there was wrong information several places. To be transparent was also important. And that was, some would like to keep the information to have the power inside the organization, and we would like to release it. So if someone disappear or was driven over by the bus, it should be easy for others to take over. Trace what's done, have complete control of the value chain, and then also how can we help each other to become better, how to continuously be better. So this is actually the solution we had. We had up in the left here, Accepta as the ERP. We had Hult and Lillevik as the payroll system. We had the Current as hours capturing, Excel spreadsheet for traveling, and some other applications here. So we actually reduced from 11 different softwares into 3. And I have a dream that we can remove maybe the PDM from SolidWorks as well. So, and we worked a little bit on how to organize the data, where to put it, so we make sure that the original data is just one place and we can take copies from that. So shortly, what we keep in the 2 different applications, HighStage is used for the quality improvement system, the sales process, actions, the supplier approval, also the supplier register. And here you can see that you have the supplier approval send over information to Xledger, that's the ERP system, and there comes information back from Xledger to HighStage. And project EBS is pushed back from Xledger to HighStage. Parts are established in HighStage, and also clients and procurement, BOM. And of course documents. So, what have we done? We made a plan. We had very short time for the first implementation. There was, actually we did a small test, we did a test implementation of HighStage earlier, but the board took a decision the 3rd of October in 2016, and we did the implementation the 1st of January, or we went live actually, 1st of January last year. And for those phases, we took first to get the accounting system up and running, and also put in the quality management system into HighStage and so on. Phase 2 and 3 has been more melted together, and there's still a couple of things that's left here, but we have implemented much more than actually on the list here. I would say a few words about that later. So, what do we have in HighStage? We are actually a lot of processes, but we have 3 main processes. And that is the lead process for sale, and it's the bid process. And then we have project. We have divided the project into 3 different sizes. We have small, medium, and large. And as you can see, the stage gate process below here, there is actually just 2 types. But the difference between the large and the medium is actually the number of mandatory documents and so on. So the process is much the same. So we have, here is some of the processes, not all. But for those of you who used HighStage for a while, you are familiar with this. So we have a separate process for purchase. We have a punches for requisition, for work packages, for the quality system, for patents, and for change, and so on. So then, very often, the structure became like this for the project. So, so we have, like documents, actions, and mails that's connected to the project. But we also have requisitions, ask for prices for equipment. We have purchase process that is more complex with larger tender evaluation and so on. Then we have changes and the work packages and so on.
What are the size of these projects? A couple of 100 million kroners?
We have projects from, if you take from spare parts, this could be a few thousands actually, but Normally it's from 100,000 to 200, around 200 million. The large one is project around 250 million. So a medium project could be from 10 to 50 million. So here's a little bit what we have in this system. We have that was the first we implemented, was the quality system, fully out, and it explains a little bit about the process, how we work. This is actually, it's easy to update. It's PowerPoint files that's made for HTML that is linked in here, works properly, very good. And then you go into, if you click into some of these, like here, we press on the project, you're coming in, and then you see for the quality system the same process with the stages and the gates that we have in HighStage. So here is all the procedures, the instructions, the forms, and so on put in. And you can click in and then you open up. The thing we've done also is we had a lot of good procedures. At least from Rolls-Royce, we had a lot of procedures. They had a huge quality system. So when we start to build up that, it was, and it still is, a challenge to reduce the number of documents. Some of the way we've done it is we implemented and try to force people to work in the process here and reduce a lot of wordings. So long descriptions we try to remove and put it in as actions. But some guidance and some documents will still be needed. And like here in the process, you will see that we even, in the process here, link to some of the important documents. So if a new project manager is coming in, he or she should easily could click in and read the guidance, how to operate, how to use this. Yeah. How much time?
We're ahead of schedule. Go on.
Okay. I have a few things that I put in here just to show you. I will explain a little bit what we've done for the projects. Yeah. As you can see, this is the gates with the names and so on. And there is made folders here, or you open up. If you open the page, you will automatically get the one that is active. So here you can see the startup, and so you have the same structure here.
You probably need to zoom in for that so you can behind.
Zoom like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the startup, we could see that we have some documents that's marked red here. They're mandatory. So to start up the project and go over for the manning and planning, passing the hard gate 1, we need to have a contract. And here is some of the documents that normally goes into that phase. Here. Then for the manning and planning, there is some other documents that's mandatory, and here you can actually you can access those. You can create them or you can add them easily. So for each step here, there will be different documents that is shown, but it could also be some of the same. So that is the way we build it up. So below here we will have the mails, the actions, and even the tags that we establish for the project, and all the documents that is for this kind of project. Then we have also over here should be the documents from sale. There is the pre-calc that's coming from sale. We have for the contract management here, there is the contract, so that will be easy accessible. There is change management and risk management and tag management and so on. So we try to kind of collect the information that is needed into this one project process. Questions? Yeah?
Who has actually access to what? It looks like you have all your important stuff in one place.
Yeah, we do, not everyone have access to everything. So we divided it into different workspaces where we have one workspace for sale. We have one workspace that we call delivery. Delivery is the project organization. So those who need most of the information is put into delivery. So that will follow the project from the project is started until it is delivered. So all the ones that's in the project organization should have access to that information. Then we have a separate workspace for procurement. So we can hide some of the tenders and the process ongoing. Very often the project manager is a part of the procurement, so he has access to see this information, but not the complete project organization. So that's the way we, and we used ProArch earlier, and we struggled with a little bit with this kind of security setup. So the integration here between HighStage and Active Directory is pretty smooth, and it gives us a functionality that we really struggle with the folder structure or with ProArch as well. So the security, it's much easier here to take hold of. So the same process we have here, if we look into for the sales process, I just you can see the same steps here, and there is some other information that is important for them. The thoughts about this is also when sale is putting all the information in, it's so much easier for the project manager to just get access to that one sales process and have the mail correspondence, the information that maybe could be of interest if there is any kind of dispute later. So then you get a history for the sales process very easily. Then I will show you a little bit the purchase process. It's a bit the same, you know, and there it's very good to have all the mail correspondence. We have all the different bids coming in. We have control of the revision. We had actually several cases earlier where, you know, bids were laying on the file, shared file on the network, and wrong version were used, and all this kind of problems. The good thing is also here now that if someone get ill, if someone travels away, it's much easier to put someone in and get information. As an example, one of my employees on procurement went for a holiday, and there was ongoing procurement process that was critical, and then she just put me in the process. Then I received copies of the emails coming in. I could respond immediately. So it's very quick to do this kind of changes and make sure that those who need the information get it. We also done something fancy here. I can tell you that when we started this implementation, I really struggled, with the management team and with a lot of people in the organization. There was a huge restriction, or people didn't want this. But now there's a kind of attitude that everything we do now, we should put it in HighStage. And now we have for management, we have a plan that's going for until the end of 2020, and that is even implemented here now. With we don't have the gates, but we have the stages, and the management team is using it for reporting, for having control of the progress of the different tasks in a long perspective as a project. Some of the things that is, I think, generating a success here internally is people feel they get some of the problems solved. So there could be, like for the workshop, they had a problem with the inventory, having control of the certification of all the instruments and tools and so on. And Pereira, he made a quick solution for that, and suddenly they were really happy. Not a big task, but suddenly they got control of something that was floating around in some spreadsheets and things like that. Good and bad experience. I could say we have had a lot of challenge in the implementation, and it's larger than this challenge. I was asked a couple of months ago, what would I not do again for this type of implementation? My experience, I don't know how many finance people are here, but my experience is that they very often think they have to work the way they've always done, and they forced through some kind of functionality that made a lot of problems for us. Not necessarily related to HighStage, but for the Xledger implementation. So we had to go back and redo a lot of things. I also failed. I did a lot of failure in this process, and I didn't understand the complexity of or the impact that this change had for all the different processes. So all the places where we digged into, there was actually first of all a good job to do on the procedures, on how we actually work, but also in the organization to have an understanding of what is this. And then it's not related to HighStage, but I believed too much in the roadmap from Xledger, and they still have not delivered some of the functionality they promised last March last year. And I think I would not put myself as the project manager internally. It's easier to have an external project manager to do this. So for this kind of large implementation, you don't get the same focus and an attitude when you have an internal project manager. So what would I definitely do again? I would have chosen HighStage. I think that's one of the best things with this implementation. I knew HighStage from before a little bit, but it has grown. It's something that's better than I thought. We would also, I think, go for the cloud solution we selected with the Xledger. from my point of view, it was very important to have Breidar with, to have someone that really had the knowledge who could help us with this implementation. That was priceless. And also have a good implementer from the X-Ledger. We did a good job, I think, in the beginning to listen to experienced people for some of the structure, how to build up things. That is related to the PLM knowledge. Breidar had some good people that he know. They came in. We had some kind of workshop, discussed how to build up some of the structures. But also regarding maintenance, because we want to move this into a situation where we can merge some of these metadata that we have on the devices with the SCADA or the control system on the rigs to establish a maintenance system that we can offer the client that should be better and cheaper than what they can do themselves. So this kind of building up this structure is important. And pulling in the super users, that's really important. And some of them have really grabbed it, and that's lovely. According to the plan, we didn't meet all the milestones exactly as planned, but we implemented some other things along the way. That was coming from feedback from some of the users, and that was building trust and kind of interest for the system. So when doing that, you build up the support from the inside, and that was actually more important than meeting all the milestones. And of course, talking to other users is very useful. A little bit about the cost. Like I said, we reduced from 11 to 3 systems, and all employees now have access to both those major systems, and it's transparent. And people are working much more the same way, and we see that a lot of the task we do internally, we have a much higher quality on it. And a typical example of that is the bill of material, where actually it's being approved. Earlier it was an email from one technical guy to the project manager, and he put into the ERP system. There was very poor kind of quality control of the request to procurement. But now, not only the quality, but also saving time. So like one of the project managers says, for one of those power stands, when he need to order a new one, he said he saved around 1 week of work to be able to reuse these procurement bill of materials. And the thing we also see is from having a separate quality system to be able to integrate it. So if we have a non-conformance, it could be connected to either the parts, it could be to the supplier, it could be to wherever the problem actually is. And it's easier to keep control of it. And also the supplier register that we have established, we have a lot of information there. So when we want to go for a steel supplier, we search for steel. We get up the suppliers. We have a ranking of them. We can see who is a really good supplier, who's not. So, and that is some kind of history and information that earlier it was maybe in one person, but now it's in the system. And we have control of invoices. That's not in HighStage, but we use much less time on. Now it's electronic flow and all this stuff. Last night I did a calculation to see according to what we had in software cost earlier and what we have now. And we have reduced it with 32%. And the operational costs approximately 25%. And we kept the budget. The budget we put together, Breidar, there was slightly deviation, but we kept it, and the return of investment is 1.1 year. Probably shorter, because we do not take into account some of all these good benefits that we have. So, what have I learned for this process? The change inside the organization doing this is a challenge. And Pereira told me once that actually the largest sale process is internal. And I can confirm that. I read a book half a year ago. He had a lot of good things. I can recommend it. And he said that the fear of losing something that something one already has stops most people from exploring if there is anything better. And I feel that is true. And I'm sorry to say that I've met the second one here. No thanks, we are too busy when we're trying to improve. When we have a very busy time, it's very difficult to stop and actually do the improvement. Okay.